All right, good morning. It is 9 a.m. I will call the January 9th, 2025 meeting of the City of Findlay City Planning Commission meeting to order. You guys are welcome to pull that door closed if you want. For us to begin, we'll go ahead with roll call.
Mayor Mirren.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Trombley.
Here.
Ms. Schroeder.
Here.
Mr. Klinger.
Here.
At this time, anyone who plans to speak for or against an item, if you can please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. So if you want to speak on any topic today, you have to be sworn in. So, all right, very good. Please raise your right hand.
Do you affirm that all testimony and evidence you are about to give in a case before this commission this day will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and will conform to the facts of the case and the rules of this commission? This you affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury. Please say I do.
Very good. You may be seated. All right, at this time, we have the Planning Commission meeting minutes from December 9th, 2024. Do I have any discussion?
Just one point, I think on the last page of the minutes, in the, under the motion, it refers to 5 parcels on Olive and Washington. I think it should be 10, unless I'm mistaken. Okay.
Very good. Any other comments?
Motion to approve, as noted.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. At this time, the old item is going to remain tabled, Jacob, unless I see otherwise. Okay, very good. That will remain tabled as we collect data and work with the commissioners to determine a best path forward. So moving into new items. Item number 1, application for site plan review SP-01-2025, filed by Chick-fil-A to establish a new facility located at 1165 West Trenton Avenue in Findlay. CPC staff comments.
Okay. The request is located on the south side of West Trenton Avenue, west of the intersection with Independence Square. It's zone C2 general commercial, surrounded by the C2 general commercial district. It is not located within a 100-year floodplain, and this City of Findlay land use plan designates the parcel as regional commercial. Parcel history: the site's currently vacant. In November of 2024, the site went through a replat to combine the 4 parcels into a single parcel. Staff analysis: the applicant's requesting to construct a new 5,222 square foot Chick-fil-A on site. This would include 62 seats inside, 16 seats outside, and 79 parking spaces. This will feature a kind of the standard 2-lane drive-through that's seen at the other Chick-fil-A that's located out on Tiffin Avenue. The parking meets the parking standards for the C2 district, and the building meets the height and setback requirements for that C2 district as well. Drive-through lane. The drive-through lane would start on the southeast corner of the site and loop around the north side of the building and exit on the west. The drive-through lane would be set back 4.43 feet on the from the east property line. This is below the required 5 feet in the code, and so the applicant has requested a variance. So staff has seen that, and we're supportive of the request. The landscaping sheet shows that the site meets the standards for the perimeter and parking lot standards. They did note that they did not provide any foundation plantings along the building. They've requested a variance for this item as well. Given the amount of landscaping provided around the perimeter, staff was supportive of that request as well. They are short 1 tree on site because they're trying to accommodate the existing billboard, and staff is supportive of that reduction as well. There's a dumpster enclosure located on the east side of the parking lot. Zoning Inspector Eric Atkins noted that at the Tiffin Avenue Chick-fil-A, there's a mobile dumpster that's next to the building that the staff used to help wheel trash from the building to the dumpster enclosure. Staff worked with the applicant to ensure that there's this mobile unit will have panels screening it on the north and the south side. So it's a little hard to see, but this is an exit door, and there's the mobile. This area would have the mobile trash unit. They would have a panel screen on both this side of the building and protecting the outdoor seating to the south. While it's not fully enclosed, staff felt that this still met the need to have it screened from Trenton Avenue and that seat in the parking lot to the south. So staff recommendation, CPC staff recommends approval of the application for site plan review SP-01-2025 filed by Chick-fil-A to establish a new facility located at 1165 West Trenton Avenue in Findlay with the following conditions. Receive the variances for the reduction of landscaping and drive-through setback from the BZA. In addition to this, drive-throughs are conditional use in the C2 district, so I should have had a second recommendation on there as well. So I just gave it the first number of the year. So we would recommend approval of CU-01-2025 filed by Chick-fil-A to establish a drive-through at the location.
Engineering.
So we've been working with a consultant for a couple months now on the drive accesses, especially the one going to the north. So as part of that, they did a traffic impact study for this whole area to see how this full drive access would affect Trenton Avenue. Out of that traffic impact study, and I know it's not shown on here, but it was shown on the full set of plans, this is actually going to be changed around so that there's a dedicated left-hand turn coming off of Trenton Avenue. There we go. That's good. Yeah. That shows. So that way, one of the biggest concerns when we were talking is we wanted to get this traffic out of that drive lane, so that way we didn't create any more stacking. So this will create a stacking area for those vehicles to go in. The left-hand turn coming out, this is actually the eastbound traffic goes from one lane and it transitions to 2 lane here, and then this goes from 2 lane to 1 lane, so that I don't see a problem coming out of there. It's going to be a little bit easier than actually like Tiffin Avenue area or if we were in Trenton to the east more. So through the traffic impact study, though, that was identified, and they will be completing that as part of the project. And Matt, you can go back to the site now. Water service, don't have any problems with the water service. I did see on there that there was an irrigation line that would just have to be a separate tap with the proper backflow preventer. And then the yard hydrant that's on there as well, we'll just have to make sure that there's a backflow preventer on there as well to make sure there's no cross contamination. Sanitary service is just a basic hookup for that. Inspection of the grease trap and the oil water separator will be through the health department for that. And then stormwater management, they actually have an underground detention system that is in this area that is going to be outletting into the existing storm to the south. With that, they're actually metering it to what its existing is today. So everything was good with the storm detention on that, but that will be an underground detention. That's why you don't see a separate pond within that area. But really with the MS4 as well, they submitted a SWIP plan. So I don't have any additional problems with the site as long as we have all proper permits before construction.
Fire prevention.
We want to make sure they get all the proper permits for construction. And the other concern, I couldn't really tell on my map there if the hydrant that's currently there remains. It looks like it does, but I just want to make sure that it remains.
Very good, thank you. So the recommendation before the commission is that CPC staff recommends approval of the application for site plan review SP-01-2025 filed by Chick-fil-A to establish a new facility located at 1165 West Trenton Avenue in Findlay with the following conditions. Receive the variance for the reduction of landscaping and the drive-through setback from BZA, and then approval of the CU-01-2025 for the drive-through conditional use. All right, discussion. I believe the applicant is here to speak. My really main and only question on this at this point in time is looking at the plan with the outdoor seating area, the material that is kind of the dots here. What is that material?
Can you
Sorry, I'm Sarah Kramer. I'm the engineer from Woolport.
can you
Okay.
press the button on the mic too, just to make sure it's on?
Thank you.
I'm Sarah Kramer. I'm the engineer of record, and also the from Woolport. So I'm not entirely sure. That's kind of an architectural thing. I'll have to, if you want, I can get back to you with that material.
I guess my main question is I really don't like the drive-through being so close to the residential property. And so I'm just wondering if there's any way to shift the drive in a bit and decrease that material in the outdoor seating area to better accommodate the neighboring property. I just feel like it is right next to their home, and so having additional buffer, I think, is more considerate.
I don't know if you can see, but we also have a screening fence to help with that. It's kind of hard because the residence is about a foot off of the property line. So, and the other thing is we're trying to get as much of the drive-through as possible because, as you know, Chick-fil-A stacking, you just try to keep everything within the site as much as possible. So, although we can, we'd like to keep as much of the drive-through as we can because although you'd like to keep it off of the residence, he is in a zone that is commercial too, so it's kind of hard to kind of accommodate everything.
Yeah.
Real quick, you've got a laser pointer. Can you show us where the screening fence is?
Where's the laser pointer? Sorry. Oh, is it right here? Sorry.
Yep.
Thank you. Where?
Yeah,
Okay,
can you
so
just highlight that for us?
I think it was a city recommendation, but we have a screen fence that comes all the way down and over to kind of block out some of his. I mean, if they want more to that, that's fine, of screen to kind of block out some of our drive-through. But we do also have already landscaping up here to kind of block out some of this area as well. And also the other thing is some of this green area, which you don't see right now. A lot of utilities are running through, and we are having a lot of difficulties with some of our constraints is having, I believe it's AEP, we're having to relocate the overhead power line that's going right across here, and we're kind of coming in right here underground and relocating that, so.
Well, I also felt that you were a little insensitive to the fact that you butting up so tight to a neighborhood residence, even though it's in a commercial. And so with this green area in here, and Mayor, I think I see this as all being grass area here and up in here. That could have been shifted over to where you wouldn't have to have a variance, and you would have given a little bit more space that could have possibly had some landscaping
we can make
in it.
the 5 foot work. That's fine. I think we're close to it. Was it 4.7 or something like that? So we're.
Yeah, I understand that, but could you, instead of 5 foot, could you have 8 foot? Simply by moving the drive lane a little closer to the building.
Yeah, we can do that.
Maybe just to give a little better buffer, and then there's also the opportunity to get some landscaping, even up against the fence, possibly. This sign that is coming out and being relocated over here, is that going to be the same height as it is now?
Yeah.
Is that going to be interfering with the height that you're building visibly?
No, it shouldn't impact our building or anything. One of our constraints is that it's kind of the only location we can put the billboard in. There's like a big gas line that's going right through here, and they have I think it's a 30-foot easement. So there's been a lot of challenges as far as landscaping and everything on that side, and trying to relocate that to an optimal position for the sign.
I assume you weren't able to terminate the lease, long-term lease on that sign, I suppose, and that's why you're relocating
The
it?
representative for the billboard is here. We're kind of working with them on.
Okay. All right. I had a question. If you get refuge storage up here, what is this down here then?
So basically what the operations of Chick-fil-A is they have almost like a trash can of sorts, and that they roll to the bin, like the dumpster enclosure.
okay.
Yeah.
On the underground drainage, Jeremy, does that then go into the detention areas that are behind Walmart? Okay.
And you got detention area here and along here. They're tied together, obviously. I really couldn't pick it up on the drawings, but
Was there other individuals that wanted to speak on this item? Okay. Yeah, I just think, I understand and I appreciate the vinyl fence, but I'm just thinking, if that was my residence and I was in my backyard and had cars going right next to my house, I would appreciate as much variance away, or, distance away, still keeping the fence, if possible. I know it's going to be tight to add any sort of landscaping, but I won't necessarily put that as a condition, but I would appreciate any additional landscaping along that fence as well to help mitigate noise and fumes.
On the other side of the fence, I think the fence is on the property line, so you want.
I think between regional planning and the property owner and you guys, I think, we can work something out to on where the location is, because then it's probably easier for, if he's willing to have it on his property, and I'm looking because he's behind you, the property owner, is, on his property, it's probably easier for him to maintain it, and probably looks a little nicer than looking at the white vinyl fence, even though white vinyl fences can look nice. So I think that might work better. Plus, then I know you don't want it to impede on the drive-through lane. But I think that if we can, get so the code is 5 foot setback from property line, correct? So I think if we can get the 5 foot, and I think, if you can get any additional, please try to get some additional, just being a good neighbor. But I would say that I want to see the 5 foot. I would prefer there not
And
to
we'll,
be a variance.
we'll try to do more additional planting on that too.
Otherwise, I know you guys do these all over the country and you have good flow and structure. I appreciate the changes for access management. I appreciate the landscaping around, and the overall flow. I don't have safety concerns there. So with that, I'm comfortable.
We appreciate having the opportunity to come to Findlay, City of Findlay.
Yeah, thanks. Other questions or comments from staff or the commission?
is this a new prototype versus what's out on Tiffin Avenue now, where out there you got 2 lanes stack and then they funnel down into a single lane going around the building?
It just depends on the location. So I know Chick-fil-A, based on the population, some of the times they'll do kind of a limited drive-through lane and for future expansion, and so that's probably what you saw at Tiffin Avenue. They usually have like 2 down to 1, and then there's usually area for an eventual expansion to 2 lanes. In this case, I believe Chick-fil-A saw an opportunity that they would get enough customer service or customers for Chick-fil-A to be able to do the 2 lanes and everything.
Yeah, this seems like this could be a pretty congested area here with the turn-in traffic, the backing out, parking and all that. I didn't know if there was an alternative that you might look at to try to make that flow a little better. But
Yeah, we did look at a lot of options. This was kind of the best case option that we could find, especially with trying to get enough parking. And this is kind of kind of a weird lot a little bit with kind of the T shape and everything, where it's positioned. So trying to get, I know Chick-fil-A likes to at least get, I think it's 75 parking, or 70, in the 70 range of parking for these types of buildings. So with the billboard too, we kind of had to try to find different areas where we could get parking.
Another thought that I had here too is even on the left turn lane going out, I see where you, and I didn't measure it, but you got stacking for maybe about 3 cars, and then at that point, then you start pinching this lane here to allow those cars to make a right-hand turn. If the sign was moved back a little, would that allow that to be a little better
Well,
stacking
then
area?
I think then the sign would be in line with the building. It'd probably be hard to see the billboard sign. And the other thing is we did go off of the traffic engineer's recommendations on the length of the lanes and everything too.
Okay.
He said that was sufficient.
Are you done, Dan?
Yes.
I didn't
think
want to
so.
interrupt. My initial in the preliminary conversations we've had about this over time, one of my biggest concerns was stacking and traffic flow, because Chick-fil-A does do a lot of, a lot of volume. So the traffic study, the impact study that was done, the stacking reduction out on 224, I feel has accomplished that. The ability to come out here on the south side, and there's other options. You can go westbound around or eastbound. So I feel we've accomplished that, and your organization it's proven they do a really nice job stacking on their property to have good flow. So it's been proven. So I feel with addressing this on 224, having multiple ingresses and egresses, that was my concern, and I feel that it's satisfied. So I'm good with this.
One other silly request, I won't put it as a condition, but something to think of is, if possible, if there could be on the drive-through overhang, maybe have the lane closest to the building marked as primary. I don't know if that's a possibility, but trying to encourage people to use that one that's farther away from the property. And I don't know if there's psychology behind what lane people choose. I'm sure there is, but
I don't know. I know they do have set standards on their overhead bars and stuff that I can discuss with the client on if that is possible.
I just a thought. Thank you. Okay. Other questions or comments from the audience or commission? All right, very good. I will motion to approve application for site plan review SP-01-2025 filed by Chick-fil-A to establish a new facility located at 1165 West Trenton Avenue in Findlay with the following condition. I guess we're going to do a separate motion on the conditional use, correct? Okay. So then there's no receive approval on the conditional use CU-01-2025 that we're going to vote on in a minute.
So there's still a variance for the reduction in landscaping.
Yes.
Okay, yes,
So-
variance on the landscaping, but not on the drive-through. Because I want them to meet the drive-through standard.
Got it.
So I'll update it to say, meet the drive-through setback standard and receive a variance on the landscaping, and then receive the conditional use. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. Jacob, whenever you're ready.
All right. Mayor Murin,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Trombley,
Abstain.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. All right, so then the next item that wasn't on the agenda but pertains to this item is the conditional use for the drive-through. So within this district, to have a drive-through, there needs to be documentation of that also being approved. So I will motion to approve a conditional use CU-01-2025 for a drive-through at the location of 1165 West Trenton Avenue related to a new Chick-fil-A establishment.
Oh,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Any other comments? Hearing none. Jacob, whenever you're ready.
All right. Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Trombley,
Abstain.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger,
aye.
Mayor Murin.
Aye. Very good. Thank you. Appreciate everybody's time on that. All right, moving to item number 2, application for special review SR-01-2025 for the proposed building expansion of Belt Home Services at 350 Emma Street. CPC staff comments.
Okay. So this request is located on the west side of Emma Street at the north side of the intersection with Mary Street. It's zoned C2 general commercial. It is surrounded by a mix of C2 general commercial and I-1 light industrial to the south and east. It is not located within a 100-year floodplain. Staff analysis, the applicant is requesting to construct an expansion to the existing building on site. This would include 1,692 square feet of shop addition on the north side of the building and a 2,003 square foot office addition on the east side of the building. The proposed elevations show that they are under the height requirement for the C2 district and they meet architectural standards in the code. The office expansion would stretch a little bit further south than the existing building line toward Mary Street and would be, but still be 20 feet from the property line. This meets the street side yard setback of 15 feet. There is no proposed changes to the existing pavement on site. This site features a large parking lot which can accommodate trailer parking. In the aerial photo, you can see that there's 13 parked along that north side of the site, plus there's some additional storage of trailers behind the building along Mary Street. This area would be impacted because there's a proposed new entrance off of Mary Street. Staff would like to see an updated striping plan to make sure that the parking meets the zoning standards and can accommodate the new layout and access. While this is a C2 parcel abutting a C2 to the north, the use of the business appears to be more in line with like what we would see with a contractor shop. So those are conditional uses in C2, and since this was a pre-existing site, staff wanted to review some updates to help reduce the impact to the surrounding area. There's a significant number of trailers being parked on the north side of the site. Staff would like to see some additional screening in terms of like fencing or landscaping to help separate that parking lot to the north for the motel. So our recommendation is staff recommends the following information be provided during the full site plan review. Screening details for the north side of the site and a striping plan for the parking lot.
Engineering?
No real comment. Just if you guys are needing any additional taps or the curb cut or anything, just get permits.
Fire prevention?
No really concerns at this point.
Thank you. So the recommendation before staff is staff recommends that the following information be provided.
So Mayor, for special review, this is just like a preliminary overview of
Okay.
the plans before a full site plan
I was going to
review.
say special
So,
review. That's a new one.
Yeah, so they can come and get
Just
your
get
comments
feedback
and
before-
feedback, but there's no
Exactly.
official
Dan
recommendation.
always has to be difficult.
Hey, I'm trying to make it easy. The first one of the year, we want it to be simple. We've had a chance to review the comments from planning. We want to get this in front of you, kind of get your input as well. Kind of cleaning up an existing industrial building. There won't be any semi-parking or anything for this particular operation. We do have a conceptual parking plan where we're looking at about 60+ parking spaces. So there's going to be ample parking for standard vehicles. So that's all going away. So we're definitely not doing that. The one thing that we do want to do is kind of get your input on what type of buffering you would prefer. Again, that's it's not really a resident. It is it's a hotel. So, can we just go ahead and just do your simple screening for like parking lot, or do you want to see something a little more elaborate with fencing and, arborvitae or trees, just kind of what your input with that, on that would be. Again, maintaining the existing access on Emma, requesting a new one down there on Mary Street. It'll be your standard, concrete commercial drive. We've increased the radius going eastbound because that's where the majority of the traffic's going to go. It's not going to go west. So you can kind of see what we've come up with. Again, it's just trying to clean up the existing lot that's there and make it usable for Mr. Belts.
So I appreciate that information. So you're saying that it will no longer be truck trailer parking. It will be more of your service trucks and vehicles, employee vehicles?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And more office then? Is there still going to be work done out of it, or?
In this addition up here,
Okay.
that will all be offices, 2-story for offices, and this will be just for meetings and training.
Okay, and then the existing building,
This will just be our warehouse.
just a warehouse
operation.
storage. Okay, no outdoor storage though, or anything like that.
We are looking at, we do have we have a lot of recycling that we do, 'cause we take a lot of equipment in and out, and yeah. So we're looking at, we don't have the space that we currently occupy in this warehouse to facilitate all of the recycling efforts. So we wanted to have something that's outside but not permanent, that looked nice, that it was secure, and so we found some storage containers that were movable, so we could move them around if need be. But we're looking at possibly back here. There's an easement with AEP that I'm talking with them about, but maybe along here closer to the warehouse that we can just keep it tidy, secure, and not just laying and having scrap laying all over the place.
Are you talking multiple units?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we're thinking like two would probably accommodate us.
When you have deliveries come in, do you have like a semi-trailer with traveling through the lot to make your deliveries?
Typically, we have like a larger box truck, but that would come in back through here and just unload. That's why we wanted the separate entrance. All of our service vehicles can come in and out of here, our install vehicles, and then this is just, I mean, it's a huge opening, but for staff parking.
Would you plan on reducing that opening to
No.
meet the current zone?
No, but with our plan for parking, there'll be a good flow going in and out of there.
Yeah, I think this will be an improvement to this area. I'm glad to continue to see investment in that whole corridor because it's definitely making it look nicer and better maintained. I think because there's not going to be the truck trailer parking, I'm not as concerned about like a fence or something along
I'd agree.
there.
It is really clean along here. I mean, with no semi trailers, it's just a nice grass
Yeah.
area that's maintained currently.
Do you
Yeah.
have any concern of wanting to contain people from wandering into your parking lot or what you've got parked there or anything?
We'll have some cameras and things like that, but no, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
sorry, Dan. I didn't
Okay.
wanna step
Well,
on
I
you. Go ahead.
personally, I'm sorry. I personally think that,
mute buttons where you'll have to request. It's like Jeopardy. You got to buzz in.
yeah, there you go. That landscaping along here would be my preference versus even a fence if a fence is not required for security. Just some green to maybe dress that up a little and kind of, shield your property from the hotel maybe.
Well, in that same vein, we have development that's finishing up on the east side of Emma, the U-Haul storage. I don't recall what their landscaping plan was, and I'm not saying it has to equal it, but some symmetry across the street would, I think, go in line across on the north side as well as the east side of this property along Emma. I agree with Dan on that, but we did have probably a landscape plan for the U-Haul.
I think, something like maybe just 10 trees around kind of the east and north side primarily. And if you have a little bit of ability on the south side, but otherwise I don't have any issues with the proposal. And I like the storage containers to contain recycling. I think that that's a really nice solution. And I know you're probably more so concerned about, metals being stolen versus my issue is I hate litter. And so cardboard flies everywhere. So I like things to be contained. So I appreciate that as a solution.
We're still working as well on trying to figure out where to put dumpsters and cardboard dumpsters, and we bring a lot of trash, and so trying to contain that and where we can put it on the property for ease of the trash hauling company and also for the technicians dropping it off to keep it tidy and clean.
Yeah, and I know Dan will steer you well in that, but there will be requirements then for that to be enclosed.
I'd like you to consider moving that driveway, not moving the driveway, but making it meet the current standard. If you're not going to have semis parking there that need that wide of an approach, if you can fit that in and still get good traffic flow, I think that would be something that would be good to consider.
Other questions, since this is just a special review, other questions or concerns you guys have? Other comments from staff?
No, it's a good plan.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nope. All right, item number 3, zoning amendment ZA-01-2025 for the creation of a cannabis overlay district, which would allow for the establishment of 2 marijuana dispensaries within the city of Findlay. CPC staff comments.
Okay, so just some general information. On November 7th, 2023, Ohio became the 24th state to legalize adult use cannabis. In response, the state of Ohio implemented new chapters to the Ohio Revised Code, which pertain to adult use cannabis control. In the Ohio Revised Code section 3780.25, it establishes that municipalities have the ability through ordinance to restrict the number of operations within a jurisdiction. In Ohio Revised Code 3780.07 and 3796.30, the state prohibits any cannabis facility from being located within 500 feet of a school, church, library, playground, or park. The City Council Planning and Zoning Committee have reviewed staff recommendations and recommended the implementation of zoning regulations to allow for 2 dispensaries to operate within the city of Findlay. The following overlay district boundaries would allow for these facilities to operate in appropriate areas within the city. Staff analysis, to allow for the proper distance requirements, staff recommended implementing a new overlay district specific to cannabis dispensaries. Overlay districts generally apply an additional layer of standards to all areas within the defined overlay boundary, regardless of the underlying base zoning district. With input from the City Council Planning and Zoning Committee, it was determined that dispensaries were most appropriate in the C2 General Commercial District. Staff then narrowed down the appropriate areas by applying that 500-foot buffer from existing schools, churches, libraries, playgrounds, or parks. This kind of left us with 4 distinct areas for the overlay district. One is Tiffin Avenue, which Matt is showing right now. Next, we've got, that's County Road 99 by I-75. We've got West Trenton Avenue on the west side of Interstate 75. And last is West Main Cross, generally by Interstate 75. These areas are primarily commercial in nature and would meet the 500 feet setback from the above listed uses. Once a dispensary is established, the Ohio Revised Code also stipulates that the second store cannot be located within 1 mile of an existing dispensary. So having multiple areas within the overlay district allows for that proper spacing to be accomplished. Additionally, City Council Planning and Zoning Committee recommended that growing and processing of cannabis products should be added as a conditional use to the I-1 light industrial zoning district. So staff recommendation, CPC staff recommends approval of the zoning amendment ZA-01-2025 for the creation of a cannabis overlay district, which would allow for the establishment of 2 marijuana dispensaries within the city of Findlay.
Hey, Jacob, could you walk us through real quick, what is the approval process for this? 'Cause it's gone through City Council, it's gone through Planning and Zoning Commission. What does that full approval process look like?
Last fall, the Planning and Zoning Committee stated, hey, we want to look at the legalization of cannabis.
Right.
One of the comments one of the reasons why they brought it forward was 52% of the residents voted for, 48 against within the city of Findlay. So we worked on several drafts of this ordinance in the fall, and then Planning and Zoning said, we think it's ready. So now we're on the legislative portion of this. So this is an amendment to the zoning code, which is the same as changing the zoning or anything like that. So it went to council. Council referred it to Planning Commission and Planning and Zoning Committee. So this morning, we're looking at the proposed zoning changes, and we'll make a recommendation. At noon, the Planning and Zoning Committee will do the same. They'll make a recommendation to City Council. And then it will go to City Council, and it will have 3 readings. Before the 3rd reading will be a public hearing. If it's denied, if City Council votes no, then it just dies.
Sure.
If they vote yes to approve it, then there's a 30-day period before it would go into effect.
Okay, thank you.
And during that 30-day period, there could be a referendum by
Sure.
citizens, a petition to prevent it. And one of the things that I was going to say, we are not determining, yes, this should be law and allowed. What the purview of this committee is to say, do we feel that this is an appropriate way within the zoning code to manage if they are permitted? Is it an appropriate location? Is that appropriate restrictions? Does it meet the legal requirements of zoning? all of that. We are not determining, yes, I'm supportive of legalization, you know, because I have mixed emotions about it. I'm just letting council decide. But what we're looking at is, are these appropriate guidance and restrictions? So with that, thoughts from the commission on the proposed legislation?
I had a couple questions. I mean, it seems like if you go into the zoning maps, guys did a good job of having it mostly be general commercial C2, but it looks like there's a couple parcels that are M2. And I'm curious why you include those. Yet there was one, and then there was one on Tiffin Avenue as well. Why were those included as part of the overlay district?
On Tiffin.
Up towards the west side, on the left side of the screen. It looked like one of those parcels was.
Oh, right off of Union.
Yeah, right off of Union.
It's that tiny little corner.
Yep. I don't know if you're able to zoom in or not.
On the far left.
You know what? I got this fancy pointer.
Those are intended to be cut out.
They are intended to be
Yes.
cut out? Okay.
So it'll stop on Plaza as the western boundary. It looks like there's 4 parcels there. I guess I should turn my microphone. A couple of them are general commercial, and then it looks like there's 1 or 2 that are multifamily high density M2.
Matt, I assume you've done research on this in other communities and all. Is C2 a better mix than I1, which is what I would maybe suggest?
That was we had a robust discussion about that. And the Planning and Zoning Committee, you know, I think where they landed on it is this is essentially a medium intensity retail use. It's not as busy as Cheddar's. It's more busy than maybe the jewelry store, you know. So does it make sense to put that use in the light industrial district, you know? So there's pros and cons. I initially started off thinking we put it in the light industrial district, and then I also kind of thought, no, it's a retail use and it belongs in a retail district.
Plus, in my opinion on that, it's not a good use of industrially zoned property.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
How we got to the overlay, so there's a 500-foot required distance between schools, parks, daycares, churches.
Yep.
So we started off with that map, and then we did 750 foot, 1,000 foot, 1,500 foot, and all those maps, none of them created what we wanted. You know, some of them excluded very good sites, but still permitted sites that we did not like. For example, Manor Hill. You know, we did not feel Manor Hill was kind of appropriate. It's more of a residential feel. No matter what buffer we applied, Manor Hill was still in. I did some research. Other communities have done overlay districts, and we felt that the overlay district was the best way to really target the areas that we wanted to focus on. So that's how we kind of got to the overlay district. And then we had conversations about how many to allow. One was thrown out, and then people thought, well, you know, competition and just, so they kind of landed on 2. No more than 2 are permitted within the city of Findlay.
And I would say competition that breeds good stewardship and, you know, making sure that they're maintaining their property and different things like that is important as well. Because I see a planning and zoning committee member that wanted to share some comments. Mr. Russell, Councilman Russell, did you want to share some comments about the process thus far?
Grant Russell, 1200 South Main Street. I am City Council at Large and a member of Planning and Zoning. Matt hit the one thing that how we got to the overlay and the Manor Hill example was paramount. Is we initially started with just increasing those buffers, and as you looked at the maps, 4 areas that we have come out from those increasing buffered look, only C2. The 4 areas kind of brought themselves out as where we were, but where we ended up. But the challenge was always Manor Hill, And the Manor Hill example is what switched us over to the overlay. And the intent is only C2. So if there's anything other than C2 in this overlay, that's incorrect, and it will get fixed before it goes to, before passage. It's intended to be C2 in these areas.
Yep, I've taken note, and those areas will be moved out.
Okay.
And then there was the one map, if you go to Trenton Avenue, the one thing on Trenton is that this area actually went east of the highway extensively, and one member really worked hard to say no, it's not appropriate because of the high school to have the facilities in a place where you have high school traffic, and hence that's why the west only on this area. And then two other things that really that was impactful for me in this discussion. Matt's been in contact with a couple of retailers in the industry, and these stores are more akin to an Apple store than to a shack. These are cash businesses. They are obviously highly regulated. There's a lot of control involved in the process. The indications that we've got is that, I kind of roll my eyes when I say this, but they want to be good neighbors. They want to be good business neighbors. They don't want problems like anybody else doesn't want problems with them. That was one point. And the second point was that we're what was it, 9 or 10 of the CBD or fake marijuana stores that are already in the city. And so the question is, do you know where they are? And the answer is probably you don't. The fact is that once these things are established, they are going to be like any other retail establishment. If you buy the product, you'll know where they are. If you don't, you'll probably drive by and rarely look at them or even be cognizant of them. And hence we kept saying treat them like any other retail. The fact that 52% of the city voted for it is important. I think if 52% of the city voted against it, I'm not sure you would see this. I don't think we would be here. If it was my choice, we wouldn't be here. I'm not a fan of the marijuana industry, but of the legalization. But the fact is, the state of Ohio legalized it, and the majority of voting citizens in the city of Findlay legalized it. County it didn't. City it did. That's why we're here. We're now at this position because we think this is the best way, and we had a lot of discussion on this, but we think this is the best way to do what the voters have said, and give them access to the retail in places we think that it fits for the community. And if there's other questions as to our thought processes and stuff, I'll be happy to answer as they come up. But we would ask for. I've got a pretty good feeling that at 12 o'clock, Planning and Zoning is going to have a 5-minute meeting and say, yeah, we recommend doing what we recommended doing. What I'll be interested to hear is your thoughts on it, and I'll bring this conversation to the noon meeting, and if there's points that we need to take into consideration.
Has your committee considered a separation distance from residential, say imposing the 500 feet from residential properties?
The part of the areas part of the reasons we're in the areas that we are is to try to separate from is try to get them. There were some other areas that were just completely surrounded by residential. The Manor Hill example would be a good one there. The focus of these 4 areas is that they are pretty general. They're generally heavy retail as it is. Tiffin Avenue, Trenton, County Road 99, and West Main Cross. It's West Main Cross is probably the one I'm least crazy about, but it's already a concentrated commercial area that isn't, maybe on the periphery there'll be closeness to residential. If you think of Tiffin Avenue and you're on the south side of Tiffin Avenue, obviously you are close to residential, but
Right.
so is, all the restaurants that are there. And I think that really these are a much more benign use than GFS, for example. I'm just thinking of stuff on the south side that is more intense in usage. So we didn't consider a per se that it has to be away from any that there was any buffer specifically away from the a residential. We centered on the buffering was centered on the things that are in state code.
Okay.
Hey, Grant, question here on the overlay district. You've got the line kind of at that first layer of retail, but not including the box retail in the back. What was your perspective on not including those areas?
I think it's all based on what they were zoned.
Those are all C2.
Well, and also there's,
Oh yeah.
there are funny areas because of a daycare or a church.
St. Mike's is right. Okay.
Yeah, St. Mike's is there, so that takes out.
Okay.
Because that
Yep.
that state buffer
There's a
still
daycare right
still
over there.
plays.
Okay. Yep. No, that's.
And
didn't
it's
think
quite
about that.
interesting. I would imagine once this is established, if you put if a church ended up being put right here, that would take that area. If the church is there first, or the daycare is there first, that's
applies.
that's going to change. That's
Yep.
going to change this overlay district. It created a funky map based on the on that buffer.
I think the only thing that I would, I think you guys did a great job, and I know you had a lot of discussion, and I know the HRPC and zoning did a lot of research to kind of put together these recommendations, and I think it is a wise approach to how it's managed, so.
So we were going to, it was just brought to my attention, and this is part of the public process. Findlay Digital Academy is located here.
Right.
So I will go back and change this map, maybe before planning and zoning. So this, most likely, most of this part will be removed.
Matt, are we talking strictly retail establishments here? Because I know somebody, at some point, there was growing and processing mentioned, like that's
So,
not,
yes, so there's a limit of 2 retail, recreation/medicinal stores within the city of Findlay. And then the planning and zoning also discussed like processing, growing, et cetera. And the result of that discussion is they'd like to make that a conditional use within the I-1 district. And really the thought was, if it's a 60,000 square foot metal, completely opaque building, we don't know if they're processing marijuana or building basketballs or, it's an industrial use.
Right.
It's as a conditional use, it will have to come before the board. So if they're proposing a 100% like clear looking greenhouse or something, the city would have a say in that and could deny it based upon that. So they wanted to not push away any opportunities that may be out there, but still have some control over it. So the industrial processing, manufacturing, that does not count towards the two. It's two retail facilities. Did I answer your question? Okay.
And Matt, this doesn't allow for on-premise use, correct?
Outdoor
The
patio.
state.
I'm sorry?
The state code restricts.
Okay, that's all I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
so residential growth is still permitted, and it's like, what, 6 plants per person in the home, different things
I meant
like
the overlay district doesn't allow for on-premise use.
No.
Okay, perfect.
No.
Thank you.
You know, one of the nice things about this is there are a robust set of state laws
Yep.
that are kind of backing us up in a lot of ways.
Was there anyone else here that wanted to speak for or against this item? Okay.
Okay, Matt, could you go back to the 99 layout, 75 and 99?
Yes,
Why take this dip down in here like that?
that's the shape of the parcel. And with the M2, with part of that being M2, I'm going to remove this parcel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It went through a rezoning when they were proposing the apartments and condos and everything down there, and so it was just we forgot to change the shape
Okay.
before the meeting.
So the 99 will now look like this
Okay.
this
All
area.
right. Good.
And I'll just add before we move to audience comment, our office did receive a number of calls and emails from residents concerned about the implementation of it. Most of it were opposed. There was, I will say, a fair amount of confusion that because they received a letter, they thought their resident was part of the district rather than it being restricted to C2. So I think if people understood it was only for those C2 districts rather than just, including everyone within that 500-foot buffer, that some of the concerns will be removed. But
Just as a note, all these districts that you see, we sent letters to everyone within the district and then everyone within 500 feet of the district. It was only 700 postcards. I actually thought it was going to be a lot more than that, but it was so a lot of information has been sent out to the public.
With the recent development of racetrack on the north side, does that change that as well? To include them?
There, I-1.
I-1, all right, sorry.
All right. If you could introduce yourself, and were you sworn in at the beginning of the meeting?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. If you can raise your right hand and be sworn in real quick.
Yep.
Thank you.
do you affirm that all your testimony and evidence you're about to give in this case before this commission this day will be the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth, and conform to the facts of the case and the rules of this commission? This you affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury. Please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. And then if you could introduce yourself.
Andy Gerbic. I live at 411 Glessner Avenue. I guess my first question is, do you guys have locations picked out for the dispensaries, or was the reason I got a postcard just because I'm within 500 feet of the zone itself?
Correct. So that's correct. It's so.
No, we do not have a location
No.
picked out.
So, yeah, the city does not pick the locations. We are creating areas in which they would be permitted.
Sure.
When it's as a conditional use. So let's say this passes, and then the 30 days passes, and then we're into April. May Planning Commission is probably the first time a dispensary could come before the board. They would then submit a site plan, and there would be discussion about a specific site.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That's I just kind of wanted to make sure because I got that letter or that postcard in the mail, and I live right around the corner from the marathon off of 75. So I had it kind of pictured in my head that you guys had already had like one of those empty buildings right up there by the marathon. So I guess that kind of wipes away the rest of my questions then. So thanks
Okay.
for your time, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? All right. Any other comments from the commission?
Matt, you say this whole section is coming out because of the Digital Academy there?
Well, so it's 500 feet from which the parcel. So I'm going to have to highlight this parcel and then put a 500-foot buffer around, and I will make a decision any of this should stay.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing that'll probably take out the entire side of that area.
Yeah.
Bummer. I'm really hoping that car wash that's sitting vacant gets redeveloped soon because it's a real eyesore. All right. With that, do we have a motion
Motion?
to do what?
Just make a motion.
Back to the wording, sorry.
I'd make a motion. Well, I don't want to. Sorry. No, you go.
I was looking for my notes. As I wanted to make them, sorry. Would like to make a motion as the proposed zoning change. To approve it, sorry, to approve it. Sorry, not enough coffee.
I would just like to make sure in our recommendations, I know you're going to do it, Matt, but we say, hey, remove anything that's not C2 from the overlay district, if that's okay to amend that motion.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, and that's a second.
And that's a second.
Very good. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve with the condition of anything that is not currently zoned as C2 to be removed and that the maps will be updated according to some of the information shared today. Any other discussion?
I'm sorry, Mary, did you say with the updated maps as we
Yeah.
discussed today?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, with that, hearing no further discussion, Jacob, whenever you're ready.
All right. Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger,
Aye.
Mayor Marin,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Trombley.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Seeing no other items on our agenda, this meeting of City Planning Commission is adjourned.
Yeah. Well, it was nice meeting you.